Is the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen worse than the ending of Attack on Titan? You may be wondering this. Well, I have an answer, a very clear answer. Maybe it will surprise you, maybe it won't. Let's get into it. Before I tell you that answer, I want to talk about the ending a little bit. This is very clearly a case of an author who was done with this work. Could you truly say that it even ended at all? When you write a story, you bring up plot points, okay? Little points. And by the time the story's over, you need to come back to those and resolve them. You can't just bring up things for no reason. Yet, that is what the author of the story, named Gege, did. What was the point of this merger they talked about? What was the point of Kenjaku? He was just disposed of, like nothing. He had this big plan, and nothing came of it. So much of this story has no resolution. It just ended. The author put it down and said, I'm done. And on the final panel, what do we have? An FU. That's what it looks like to me. An FU to the readers. Now, why would he be saying that? Gege was never happy that people liked Gojo. He did not like Gojo. You can tell that from the treatment of the character. However, he also mentioned this in interviews. Gojo was killed by Sukuna. He had his moment, they fought, and I actually made a video. I thought that was handled well. I liked the unveiling of that. I thought that was a good narrative choice. And I don't have a problem with Gojo dying. In fact, the airport scene, it had a feeling of finality to it. And so in a way, it would have felt maybe not great if Gojo came back. Although I would have been okay with it. Because there was a setup for that. And the setup was when Gojo felt his old friend in the body. It's like, oh, there's pieces of him in there. What would be the reason for bringing that up? That sets up, oh, pieces of Gojo are still in his body. He can come back. Well, he didn't go down that route. Fine. What I have a problem with is that there was no finality to Gojo at all. You're telling me that this mentor, this beloved figure in the story, can't get one panel of a funeral? Can't get anybody visiting his grave, mentioning anything about him? Everyone wants to know, how are the characters impacted by his death? All we get is a flashback of Gojo saying, forget about me, don't worry about me. Yeah, that's the author telling you, don't worry about Gojo. Well, you know what, Gege? That's hard to do when you're releasing a movie about him and all the marketing is about him. Is it canon that he's dead? Do we have any confirmation from any of the characters that he's dead? And I actually don't know the answer to this because I don't care to read it that in depth again. This ended weeks ago, and I've already forgotten most of it, and most people have, because it was terrible. Now, we can't even say that just the ending was terrible. I would say after the Shibuya arc, it was pretty downhill from there. The Culling Games was ridiculous nonsense. Which ending is worse? Let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything first. No, I think for the most part, that's all I want to mention. There are a lot of issues with the story that we can't really go into. It would take forever. We're here to talk about the ending. So, Nero here. You can take this. You can play with it. I won this in the claw machine. Go ahead. You don't want it? All right. The ending of Attack on Titan was more disappointing because the story of Attack on Titan was so much better. And the potential for Kino and what the ending could have been. But with Jujutsu Kaisen, it was always mid-Jujutsu Kaisen. It was not that great. Now, which one was objectively worse? Chewing his head? The ending of Jujutsu Kaisen was worse. I know it's hard to believe. And here's why. Because there was no ending at all. He just kind of took it, scribbled some nonsense, closed it, and said, the end. at least Attack on Titan had an ending, an actual ending that tied up some plot points and gave you some closure. Of course, we didn't like it. Well, if you're a big brain, you didn't like it. But it was an ending. The ending of Jujutsu, worse than the ending of Attack on Titan. But we're not that upset about it because it never had the potential that Attack on Titan had. In fact, when Jujutsu Kaisen ended, it was kind of a shrug. Nobody thinks about it, nobody talks about it, whereas Attack on Titan, everyone is still upset about the kino that was right there. So that's it. I mean, this is, how low can we go? What we're going to talk about next with my cousin Steven when he's here is the ending of Oshinoko. Holy crap. What are they doing? Is that worse than these two endings? I've been out here on this porch yapping for a bit. I think I've said what I needed to say. Like and subscribe, and we will see you again. Goodbye. Go ahead, take it. Oh, there he goes.